Hi, so I'm Aneisha Velazquez. I'm the owner of Yellow Sky Business Services, where I help neurodivergent and introverted business owners understand their numbers and actually know what's going on with their business in a way that makes sense for their brain. And then with me is Tina Barr. Yeah, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tina Barr, and I am an e-commerce expert, strategist, and fractional CMO. So I work with primarily women who are scaling their product-based business and are just looking for some help to get to that next level because they're just at the stage where they can't do it all by themselves anymore. And they need someone to come in and help them with the strategy, understand where to go next.
Okay. So we're going to ask each other just a few questions. And our first question, so my question for Tina, what's the difference between hiring a fractional CMO and then hiring an agency or a freelancer?
Yeah, sure. So fractional CMO is kind of a new trending term. So some people might have heard of it, some of them maybe not. But the fractional part just means that you work part-time because usually your business isn't in the need of a full-time chief marketing officer like you would in a big corporation. So that's what the fractional part is. And then the CMO part is really, it's the person who can come in, who can look at the big picture, analyze your data, help you create a marketing plan for the future to get you where you want to go, and then also lead your team. So those are the functions that your fractional CMO will do. And they'll actually often work with either internal team members in the marketing department or work with an outside agency. And you can think of that as the second half, where once the plan is drawn up, somebody needs to go and do the work and implement it. And that's where having an agency would come in. But a lot of times what happens is people hire an agency thinking that they're also going to do the strategy, and they're actually looking at you as the business owner to tell them what the strategy is. So there's this gap that is starting to be seen more and more that needs to be filled. And that's the gap that I filled between the founder or visionary of the business and then an agency who's an expert in what they do and their specialties.
So you fill in that gap, manage the strategy and then execution too?
Yeah, exactly. So like lead the execution. So tell the agency what we're looking to accomplish, what goals we're trying to hit, what the budget is, like manage all of those pieces that come into place. And then for you, how do you know if you're ready for a bookkeeper versus, I guess, a DIY kind of doing your own
Right,
book?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most people, they're doing some form of bookkeeping, whether you're just sending out invoices and making sure you get paid. That is a part of bookkeeping. But when like your business starts hitting like your first 6 figures for that yearly revenue, and you start noticing that you don't have as much of a like the feel for your numbers anymore, like your invoices that are still needing to be paid, you start realizing you can't remember exactly who still owes you and if they all got paid. If you've got more bills coming due, you're just having a harder time keeping track of everything. And then if it's been like you get to the end of the year, you need to get your numbers in for taxes and you realize you need to catch up on your books, then it's probably time to get some extra help. And like my rough rule of thumb, again, like I said, it's like first 6 figures. And if your accountant is also asking for more things that you don't really understand what they need, or they recommend that you need to be an S Corp, then that's definitely a sign that you're ready to get a bookkeeper to manage all of those moving pieces.
Yeah, great. And I will say, as someone who actually is very good at certain kinds of numbers, like I'm very good at analyzing data, when it
Yeah.
came to bookkeeping, that was the absolute hardest part of my business at every stage. And hiring a bookkeeper is like, I mean, something that I wish I'd done sooner. And it's one of the best investments I've made in my business by far. And I'll never give it up now. Never going back.
Yeah, we're here to make it easier. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, my second question is, so how do I know if how does someone know if their business is ready for a fractional CMO? And if they're not ready, what can they do instead?
Yeah, sure. So fractional CMO, I'll say, yeah, business really needs to be kind of like you were saying at that 100K benchmark or above. And I would say it's probably even a little bit higher for this role. So it's usually closer to maybe 250 in revenue or 500. And I would say it's when you already have a bit of a team in place. So maybe you have a marketing assistant, maybe you're looking at hiring an agency, you have a couple of VAs, and your team is growing, but it seems like a lot of people are doing different things and nobody's in charge of the oversight of the whole thing when it comes to marketing, because as the founder, you're also busy developing product or running the financials of your business, or there's a lot of other things. So it's about when you hit that kind of revenue target, and if you're not there yet, which a lot of businesses aren't, but it doesn't mean that you don't still need a little bit of strategy or someone to brainstorm with or an outside perspective on your business. So even if you're at 30K year, 50K year, and your business is on a growth trajectory, then it might be worth having just like a 1 hour consult call, like a power hour, or a coaching call with someone who can help you kind of see where you are and give that same advice, but just not in an ongoing retainer format. And I like doing that. I do offer power hours for my clients. And it really helps because we can start to build that relationship early. I can get to know your business. And then when you are at the stage where you need someone with a bigger commitment, you already know that they know your business and trust you. So it's building that longer term relationship.
Yeah, especially for marketing, I could see how that's really important. That way, you know what they want and how they want it, and you can make sure you can carry that out. So yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
All right. And so now I get to ask you, why do I need a CPA and a bookkeeper? So I guess that's also like, what's the difference between a CPA and a bookkeeper?
Yeah, and that's a question I get a lot. And so you can think of like your CPA or an accountant, because you don't need a CPA to do your taxes, but you can kind of think of like CPA, accountant, they all fall under that umbrella of like they do your taxes. So they make sure your tax forms get filed. They tell you what the IRS needs you to do, and you do it. And then they can also offer tax strategies. So like planning how you can save on taxes so you don't pay more than you need to. And you can make those payments during the year instead of getting hit during tax season with like a surprise tax bill. So that's kind of like tax preparing, tax planning, tax strategy. That's kind of the CPA accountant. And then bookkeeping is that more that day to day during the year, like tracking what's coming in and out of your business and getting those reports done, knowing your P&L, your profits during the year. And so what gets a little confusing is sometimes your accountant can do the bookkeeping. They can offer that service. So that's kind of what I like to think of it more as roles instead of titles, because an accountant can fill multiple roles. And some bookkeepers, because they might have had a background in CPA or accounting as well, so they can fill multiple roles too. So you just want to make sure you have the role filled for getting your taxes done, and then the role filled for that more day-to-day tracking money inflow and outflow and your numbers. And so whether that's one person, one firm, multiple people on your financial team, it's fine. You just want to make sure you're filling both of those roles.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I have both a CPA and a bookkeeper, and it's really interesting because, like, yeah, the bookkeeper I talk to every month, and the CPA I really talk to like once a year, and then it's a whole flurry of stuff, and then they kind of hide out till I need them again. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
They work together, and you're just like, thanks.
Yeah. All right, cool.
All right. So the last question, let's see. So what expertise and skills should we look for in a fractional CMO?
Yeah. So I think that's important because a lot of times you'll find, it's a kind of very similar to this conversation about CPA and bookkeeper, right? So I would look for someone who's very well-rounded and has a lot of expertise in different types of marketing, different parts of marketing. So you don't want someone who's, for example, just a Facebook ads expert and doesn't know how to read Google Analytics data or doesn't know what good benchmarks are for email marketing, or, like you want someone who's well-rounded, who understands all the different parts of marketing and can speak to them, and also who has, I think it's important to have a passion and at least a little bit experience in your niche. So I specialize in product-based businesses. I've also worked with membership businesses. So those are the two lanes that I stay in. If someone had truly a service-based or like a SaaS company, I would probably refer them to somebody else because I just don't know enough about what's normal or what the trends are for that business. And I would want to be upfront about that because I don't think it's fair for the client to pay for my learning time. So that would be one thing. And then also just that you have a good relationship with them. Like this is very much someone who's part of your team, who's going to be looking at sensitive financial information, looking at all your data, all your reports. They're going to be talking to your team. They're going to be talking to your agency or your freelancers. So making sure that there's a lot of trust and that you have a good rapport on both sides, I think is another really important part to it. It's not like someone who comes in, does a little task, and then leaves again. It's a longer relationship, and understanding that upfront is really important.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like back in my early days, when I would talk to people who are in marketing, I would say stuff like, "Oh, like I should ask you how I should post on Instagram," because you think it's just that one piece. You
Yeah.
don't realize it's just so much more involved and like that you can niche down into. So yeah, I mean that's a good to remember.
And then what are a couple of things to know when you're getting started with a bookkeeper?
Yeah, so you've decided, like once you've decided you're ready for one, you've found a good one, hopefully. Um, like I'm gonna call these, I guess, 3 things you don't have to do, because I know a lot of us like to not have to do stuff. So 3 things you don't have to do when you get started with your bookkeeper is you don't have to get organized first. So it's a lot like if you hire someone to come clean your home, you really don't have to clean it before they come because that's what they're gonna do. So same, a lot of people feel embarrassed that their business financial records are a mess. They're all over the place and they're not sure where they are. But that's what I do. I actually specialize in getting messy books caught up. So you don't have to be embarrassed. You don't have to go and like fix it because I have a whole process where I walk you through step by step what to do and how we get to those like nice clean financials where you don't have to stress anymore. The second thing you don't have to do is you don't have to understand QuickBooks or whatever bookkeeping software you choose to use. Sometimes when I get started with a cleanup, people ask, like, do I need to go in there and do anything? And no, you don't. Like, again, your bookkeeper, we handle that. And then if we need you to do something in there, we'll explain exactly what to do. So you don't have to learn anything before. And then the last thing you don't have to do is once you get your reports, they don't have to stay the same. So if you look at the report, the numbers or the layout just is confusing or it doesn't quite tell you what you need to know, they don't have to stay that way. Like it's flexible. We can set up your account names differently. We can even have more accounts if you want like more information, or if you want less, we can consolidate. So that's very flexible. And you just have to let us know like what's not working for you, and then we can work with it. So yeah.
I love that last one because that's actually something that I just recently switched bookkeepers, and she asked me a bunch of questions about how I wanted things set up. And at first I was like, oh, I don't care. Like, you choose.
Mm-hmm.
And then she started giving me these ideas. She was like, well,
Mm-hmm.
what if we broke out your income by revenue stream? And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, you can do that? Yeah, I want that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what if we, split your expenses this way? And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, yeah, I never thought how helpful that would be to have that information. So
Yeah.
I think that's a really great piece of advice, that like, you just, you don't know what you don't know, right? So
Yeah.
mhm.
And if it needs to change, maybe it's fine now and then later it's not working anymore, you can change
Yeah.
it. It's like I said,
Mhm.
it's not stuck one way. So yeah, it needs to work for you. Mhm.
Very cool. All right. So I
But
guess, yeah,
yeah.
we're good.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are our
No,
questions.
it's like I'll share our questions. But yeah, thanks for thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah.
maybe we'll recap. Tell me, like, what's your perfect type of client? What industry are they in? Like, what stage of business, just so people know, and then where they'll find you. And then I'll
Yeah.
do the same.
Yeah. So perfect client, neurodivergent, introverted, usually business owner. They typically have a small team, whether that's just one other person handling admin, the receipts work, or maybe a bigger team, but typically less than 10 people. Because more than that, we're starting to get into like a different type of bookkeeping needs. And then I said small team. And what was the other? What was your
Oh,
other
is
question
there
again?
any like
I just totally
specific
forgot.
industry? Like, do you work with service
Oh,
providers?
yes.
Obviously, do you work with
Mhm.
e-commerce? Because I know, or market. I know sometimes accounts are like, oh, I don't want to deal with people who are on Amazon because it's like a lot
Yeah.
of extra transactions and some nuance to it.
Yeah. So I have service-based businesses, and then I also do have some. I call them, I guess, like modern boutiques. Like they have a brick and mortar, but they're using Shopify to sell,
Mhm.
and they do have like some online store sales as well. So it's kind of like a mix of like brick and mortar with some e-commerce, and I do enjoy those, like making sure their Shopify numbers and QuickBooks are talking to each other. So yeah, and or to find me, so you can just Google Yellow Sky Business Services, and that's my website. So Yellow Sky Business Services, just so it's easier because there's a lot of S's in the name. So the .services makes it easier to type out. And yeah, I would love to help out. And then I do also offer what I call bookkeeping strategy calls, because again, sometimes you might not need the full bookkeeping done yet, or you just want to see what can be optimized in your business financial system. So that'll be a call where you just sit down, find out what you're doing now, and then what can be changed to better fit where you want to go. So,
Very cool. Yeah, that's great. Those types of calls are really nice to like get to know each other. Yeah, just get like
right.
a couple of quick questions answered for sure. Mhm.
Yeah. And what about you? Like, so ideal client and I know
Yeah.
e-commerce, and then where to find you? Yeah.
Yeah, so e-commerce, and I've also worked with a couple of membership-based businesses, which is really interesting too. So I do like that model. On that side, I like to focus on like member retention, but also just the entire member experience. So like what happens once you find a membership, what's your onboarding like, all of that. So that's another type of marketing that I'm really interested in. Yeah, my ideal clients are women who've either like they just identify as creative, right? So they've created a product, or they're doing something visionary, doing something different inside of their niche. They're very values driven businesses. So I wouldn't say it's not really like a get rich quick kind of scheme, type of person.
Yeah.
It's really someone who has a bigger purpose behind their business. That's important. And that really is like loves their customer and loves what they're doing, but they want to get back to their zone of genius, and marketing is not their favorite thing, and they want to pass it on to somebody who loves marketing, which is me. So it's about putting everybody in the right seat and letting us do what we're best at. So that's the type of clients, but beyond that, it can really be any type of product, any kind of business. I have brick and mortars, some are online only, some are hybrid, digital products, physical products. It really doesn't matter from that point of view. And I can be found at tinabarr.com. My last name is actually Barr on with a hyphen, but like when you try to turn that into a domain, it's really messy. So that's why I go by tinabarr.com. And yeah, I also offer like 1 hour power hour calls, and I call that one If I Were Your CMO. So that's kind of like stepping in, like if I was running your business, here's 3 things I would do. And we have a conversation and we kind of go through what your current challenges are. And those are really fun because then you can take that away to your team or you can go implement it yourself. But it's just like getting that outside perspective. And I also hang out quite a bit on Threads. So if anybody wants to find me there, you can find me on Threads. And now I'm starting to ramp up LinkedIn. So that's going to be my next area. If you want to just, see what I'm talking about or what I'm interested in, I'm posting more things there.
Nice. Oh yeah. Yeah. I forgot about Threads. Like I'm on there also, so I'll need to find you.
Yeah, we'll have to connect. Threads has been
Mhm.
surprisingly really fun for me.
Yes.
Like low pressure, really cool people, great experience. So yeah, if anyone
Yeah.
hasn't tried it, I recommend checking us out over there.
So yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for doing this, and yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks. This was wonderful. I learned some new things, and I think like especially the bookkeeper conversation is going to be super helpful. So
Yeah, same. And marketing, because I feel like marketing is like kryptonite for accounting. So
yeah.
very important to get more of the overview of what you guys do.
Yeah.